Welcome to MogulCast, where we uncover the stories behind the world's greatest business empires. Let's get into today's story. March 14, 2018. Elizabeth Holmes steps into a federal courtroom in San Jose, California. The company she built, Theranos, is worth zero. Investors have lost $700 million. Patients received false medical results. And the lie she sold, the idea that a single drop of blood could diagnose hundreds of diseases, has just been exposed as fraud. This is the full story. And it is worse than you think. Elizabeth Holmes was 19 when she dropped out of Stanford in 2003. She wore black turtlenecks like Steve Jobs, spoke in a baritone voice, and carried a vision to revolutionize healthcare with a device called the Edison. The problem? She had no medical background. No engineering degree. Just a patent, a PowerPoint, and a belief so strong it convinced her professor to invest. But we will come back to one specific decision, it is the key to everything. By 2010, Holmes had raised $45 million. She assembled a board of directors that included two former secretaries of state, Henry Kissinger and George Shultz. The media crowned her the next Steve Jobs. But behind the scenes, the Edison couldn't perform basic blood tests. Engineers warned her. She ignored them. Instead, she did something that would later unravel everything. She started faking demos. 2013 was the year Theranos became a unicorn. Holmes signed a deal with Walgreens to put Theranos wellness centers in 8,134 stores. The valuation skyrocketed to $9 billion. She was on the cover of Forbes, Fortune, and Incorporated. But not everyone was celebrating. Inside the company, employees were quitting. The machines were failing. And Holmes was about to make a decision that would seal her fate. In 2014, Theranos launched in 41 Walgreens stores. Holmes appeared on stage with Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. She was named one of Time's 100 most influential people. But behind the scenes, the Edison was producing inaccurate results. Patients were getting wrong diagnoses. One employee, Tyler Shultz, grandson of board member George Shultz, sent an email to Holmes warning her. She fired him. That email would later become evidence in a criminal case. Theranos claimed its technology could run 240 tests from a single drop of blood. The reality? The Edison could only do 15. The rest were run on traditional machines, diluted to mimic the Edison's tiny sample size. But here is what the media completely got wrong about this: Holmes wasn't just lying to investors. She was lying to herself. She believed her own myth so deeply that she convinced others it was real. The turning point came in October 2015. The Wall Street Journal published an investigation by reporter John Carreiro. It revealed that Theranos was using third-party machines for most tests. The Edison was a sham. Walgreens suspended the partnership. The FDA launched an investigation. Holmes went on CNBC and called the story false. But the damage was done. The lie was exposed. By 2016, Theranos was in freefall. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services revoked its lab license. Walgreens sued for $140 million. Investors filed lawsuits. Holmes was banned from the blood testing industry for 2 years. But the worst was yet to come. In 2018, the Department of Justice charged her with 11 counts of fraud. The trial would become one of the most dramatic in Silicon Valley history. The trial began in August 2021. Prosecutors called 29 witnesses, including former employees who testified that Holmes knew the technology didn't work. In one damning moment, a lab director admitted that Theranos had faked proficiency tests. Holmes took the stand in her own defense, claiming she was manipulated by her ex-boyfriend and COO, Ramesh "Sunny" Balwani. The jury didn't buy it. On January 3, 2022, Elizabeth Holmes was found guilty on 4 counts of fraud. She faced up to 20 years in prison. The verdict sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley. But if you have made it this far, you already understand something most analysts completely missed: Holmes wasn't just a fraudster. She was a product of a system that rewards hype over substance. And that system is still alive today. Theranos didn't just collapse. It exposed a flaw in Silicon Valley's culture, the belief that disruption justifies deception. After the scandal, the SEC tightened regulations on startups. Investors became more skeptical. But the damage was done. Patients who received false results sued. Some changed their treatment plans based on lies. The Theranos scandal wasn't just a business failure. It was a human one. Remember that decision we mentioned at the start? The one in 2010 when Holmes started faking demos? It wasn't just a lie. It was the moment she crossed a line she could never uncross. By 2013, she was in too deep. The Walgreens deal locked her into a timeline she couldn't meet. The whistleblowers were silenced. And the board, filled with political heavyweights, never asked the hard questions. That decision cost her everything. Holmes was sentenced to 11 years in prison in November 2022. She is currently free on bail while appealing her conviction. Sunny Balwani was sentenced to nearly 13 years. Theranos' valuation went from $9 billion to zero. Investors lost $700 million. And the 1.5 million patients who used Theranos. Many never knew their results were wrong until it was too late. The Theranos scandal taught Silicon Valley a hard lesson: hype is not a business model. But here's the surprising truth: the system hasn't changed. Today, startups still raise billions on PowerPoint decks. Founders still promise the impossible. And investors still bet on vision over execution. Theranos wasn't an outlier. It was a warning. And the next one could be even bigger. Elizabeth Holmes' story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of blind faith in charismatic leaders. But it's also a story about the power of a lie. A lie that fooled some of the smartest people in the world. A lie that built a $9 billion empire. And a lie that, in the end, destroyed everything. If you want to understand how this pattern repeats across every major business collapse, the next video covers a story with disturbing parallels. That one is next. That's the story for today on MogulCast. If you found this valuable, subscribe and hit the bell. A new empire story drops every single weekday. See you tomorrow.